Hey everyone, welcome to another web hosting video tutorial on my channel. In this video, we'll take a look at configuring the Lightsail CDN service for multiple websites. For those of you that are not aware, a CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network, can be used to host or push your static files that are part of your website. These are your JavaScript files, CSS files, images, and videos. You can cache these files using a CDN at the edge locations around the world. As a result, this would make your website perform better with the resources that you have your website hosted on. Some of you in the past have asked if the Lightsail CDN service can be configured for multiple websites on a single server. So if you have a single Lightsail server instance and host multiple websites on it, maybe with a tool like cPanel WHM or with Plex, or if you followed one of my previous videos on hosting multiple websites on a single server, if you used any of those methods to host 2 or more websites on a single server, then there isn't an official documented way that I have found where you can use the Lightsail CDN service for those multiple websites. But I believe there is a way to use CDN on a multi-website instance that I hadn't noticed before. And so I wanted to walk you through how to set that up in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have configured a Lightsail instance, a LAMP instance with 2 websites for this tutorial. So I have one website right here hosted on a domain called www.mdub.site. And then I have a second website on the same server with the domain www.webhostingforbeginners.site. So that's hosted on one of these instances. I also host the DNS zones for those 2 domains on here as well. So here's the web hosting for beginners.site and mdub.site. So we'll be using those. So to get started, let's go ahead and create our distribution. And for the origin, we will choose the server instance that is hosting the 2 websites. Then on here, I'm going to leave this configuration HTTP only because I did not set up these websites with SSL already. So these are not set up with the secure certificates. So I will leave that to HTTP only. If your websites have already been configured with SSL, then you will just click on this edit icon and select HTTPS only. And then for caching behavior, Lightsail tries to detect what type of server or what type of website that you're hosting, and then it tries to select one of these presets that it has. Since we have 2 websites, it could not figure that out automatically. So what we will do is come here and select best for WordPress, because I know that both of these websites are WordPress websites. So we'll hit apply. And so the caching configuration will be optimized for WordPress sites. And then pick your distribution plan, and then we'll create the instance. So click on create distribution, and that'll take a couple of minutes for this to get provisioned. Okay, so our distribution is now enabled. So now next, what we will do is click on custom domains, and then we will start to configure our certificates. And then on the custom domains page, click on create certificate. So click on create certificate, and then you'll want to put in the primary domain or one of the 2 domains that you are hosting on the website. So I will put www.mdub.site, and then you can give this a certificate name. It doesn't have to be this. You could say multi-site cert. And then here you can start typing in alternate domains that you want to be attached or associated with this certificate. So these could be top level domains, or they could be subdomains of your original domain. So So they could be anything you want. And you'll notice down here, it says you can add up to 9 optional domains and subdomains for this certificate. So that means that you probably aren't going to be able to host more than maybe 4 or 5 websites on this one CDN instance. So just keep that in mind. So alternate domains, my second website that's on that server is the www.webhostingforbeginners.site. And if you had more domains, you could host, another www.example.com or some other ones. And you can also probably register the non-www versions as well. So web hosting for beginners.site and mdub.site, those kind of things. So you can configure those for my purposes here. I'm not going to do that, but these are the 2 domains that I am going to be setting up. Once you've typed in your primary domain, certificate name, and alternate domains, then click on Create. And that will produce the records that we need to update our DNS zone with. So give that a second, and that should come up here. There we go. So here it's asking us to create a DNS record for each of these domains. So the CNAME record for www.mdub.site, and then I need to create another CNAME record for this domain, webhostingforbeginners.site. So I will head on over to the DNS zone management. So let's see, we'll go back to home, click on networking, and I'm using again the Lightsail DNS zone management. If you're hosting your DNS for your domain on another service, whether it's through your domain registrar or maybe you're using Route 53, GoDaddy, what have you, you will make these DNS changes at that place. So I will go to MDUB, and then we'll start adding those records here. Actually, let me just open up a new tab so it's easy for copy and paste. Click on Add Record. We need to create a CNAME record and then paste. Now, for Lightsail DNS, they already append the .mdub.site. So I will take that part out of my string and then maps to the value. So we'll come back here, copy that string and paste it. And then let's go ahead and hit accept. So I'm going to do the same activity for the other domain. So I've created the CNAME record for verification. So this may take some time. Usually the message up here says 71 hours or probably 72 hours to validate the certificate, but it should be done in a few minutes. Just come back to this page and see that it shows valid as the status. Once it is, then we will head on to the next step. Okay, so my certificate has been verified. It says status valid, and we're not using it just yet. So the next step will be to come up here on your custom domains page and click on custom domains or enable custom domains. And now that will take a couple of minutes. The status shows in progress, so we will wait for that to become enabled. So once that's done, then the next step will be to update our wp-config file with the proper code so that the websites are being served under SSL. So let's go ahead and do that right now while we're waiting for this status to become enabled. So for both of these websites, we need to make those changes. So what I'll do is go back to my Lightsail dashboard and then click on, let's see, we could click on this icon to open up an SSH window in the browser. The other option is to use an SSH client. So let me do that. Let me use an SSH client. I'm going to copy this IP address. And I will use the Bitwise SSH client. Paste my IP address, configure it with the username, which is Bitnami, and then I have already configured the SSH key or the client key for my AWS account. Okay, here we go. Okay, so on here, let me see where our websites are. So, okay, my first website is under Bitnami, www. Are hosted. There we go. Yeah. So cdmdub.site, and this is where our WordPress files are. And I am going to use the VI editor, vi wp-config.php, and that will open up the file. And right here, right under this section, I'm going to paste the code that we need for handling SSL traffic. And you can find all of these commands on the accompanying post that will be available on webhostingforbeginners.net website. So here, we'll just insert this code here, and I'll just save it. And then we'll do the same thing for the other website. So this would be webhostingforbeginners.site. And then same thing, open up the wp-config.php file in VI. Scroll down to the section of the config that says stop editing beyond this line. So just go to the end of the previous line and hit I for insert, and then insert the code again. So paste this code, and then we will save that file as well. And so that activity should be done. Now let's go back to our Lightsail distribution, and we still see that it is in progress. So let's wait a few more minutes and see if that becomes enabled so we can proceed to the next step. All right, so our distribution is now enabled and provisioned. So the next step will be to update the DNS records for both of my websites and point the domains to our distribution. So let's go ahead and do that. I have my Lightsail dashboard. I'm going to go over to networking, which is where we have the DNS zones. So let's do the first one, mdub.site. Or currently, it's an A record pointing to the static IP address of our instance directly. So we will modify that. And actually, instead of modifying, we'll just go ahead and delete that one. And we will add a record. We'll add a CNAME record. And we'll say www.mdub.site. Now we'll point to this CloudFront hostname, or distribution hostname. So paste that and save it. We will do the same activity for the other domain. Okay, so now I have both of these domains pointing to our distribution, Lightsail CDN distribution. And that may take, again, a few minutes to maybe an hour or 2 hours to propagate throughout the internet. The time varies based on your DNS zone provider, your DNS host provider. So just wait for that. You can use, I've shown this in some of my previous videos, but you can always use a service called DNS Checker. This is just one of those. There's plenty more, but this is the one that I use. to verify my DNS records. So if I would type in www.mdub.site here, and we know that it's a CNAME record, let's go ahead and see if it's been propagated, and it seems like it is. All over the world, the DNS servers are responding back to the CloudFront address. So if I now load the website, www.mdub.site, and we have our SSL certificate. This is the one that we configured with the distribution. That tells us that this is running through our CloudFront or Lightsail CDN instance at this point. Let's try the other website as well, www.webhostingforbeginners.site. And we see that this site is also now being hosted through the SSL, and that's also going through our newly created Lightsail CDN. Now, a couple of ways we can verify that the caching behavior or the caching benefits of Lightsail is working. So the one way that is very easy to check is you would come over to your website, right-click on the website and click on Inspect, or do Control-Shift-I to bring up the Web Dev Console. So then you click on over to Network. And then on here, what you want to do is just hit refresh on your website with this panel open. And this lists out all the files that are being fetched by the browser for your website. I have it being filtered for JavaScript, but if you just hit all, you'll see that every single file that makes up this page is being requested. So what we could do is just come on over to one of these, let's say the hero1.jpg file. So let's see if this is being fetched from the CDN service. So let's go ahead and hit refresh again. Now I did say that we'll pick this JPEG file, but as you can see, this file is actually being hosted on another server, so we won't be able to do that. We can only check for files that are hosted on our server. So let's see another file. So this one is hosted with us, so let's go ahead and click on this file, which is a style.css file. It's another one of those static files, and you can see right here, xcache hit from CloudFront. That means that this file was not served by the WordPress website instance that is being hosted. Instead, it's being served by CloudFront, or in other words, the Lightsail CDN. So we know that the CDN benefits are working for this website. We could do that with this other website as well. I have a different theme and just some dummy content on this site. Same thing, right-click on the page, click on Inspect or Control-Shift-I, come on over to the Network tab, and then just refresh. And then pick one of the files that is being served by the website. So we can pick maybe this image here. And you'll see that it's missed from CloudFront. So missed from CloudFront means that the file was fetched from the instance. So usually the very first time this runs, the file should come from your WordPress instance. And after that, Lightsail will start to cache it on the CDN network. So if I refresh this page and then go back to that same image, it was this one right here, you'll see that now it shows as hit from CloudFront. So now CloudFront, instead of going back to your instance and getting that file, it's getting it from the CloudFront distribution network. So as to not put any more requests to your server. As a result, that should speed up your website. All right, so we verified our Lightsail CDN service is working for both of our websites. So the next step you might ask is, how do we add a third website or another website to the same instance and also take advantage of the Lightsail CDN, or configure that additional website through the Lightsail CDN? So I'll show you that here. It's not a very straightforward process, and it will take your existing websites offline for some time. So just be aware of that. It may not may not be the best thing to do for you in your situation, but I also wanted to show you how that works. So what we will do is come back to our Lightsail distribution where we have the custom domains page, and we have our multi-site cert configured for the 2 domains. So if you look at show details, you'll see that there are 2 domains configured, www.mdub.site and then www.webhostingforbeginners.site for me. So now I want to add a 3rd domain to this because I just launched a 3rd website on that same instance. So how would I configure that? So the first thing what we need to do is come over to this menu icon and duplicate this certificate. So when you do that, it will show you the create a certificate screen where we have our existing primary domain. Our certificate name will be different, and then the alternate domains and subdomains. So for here, what I would want to do is, let's say if I wanted to start a blog. So I'll do blog.mukesh.me is another domain that I have. So this will be my 3rd domain, and I can continue adding more domains, again, with the upper limit of 9 as the max. So what you want to do here then is click create. And that will take a minute to show us the CNAME entries that we need to make for that new domain. So here we go. So mdub.site is already existing. www.webhostingforbeginners is already existing. So we don't need to worry about these 2 CNAME values. Those are actually going to be the same as they were before. But the new CNAME value, which is blog.mukesh.me, this CNAME value, I need to now go to my DNS hosting provider for that domain and create that record. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. I won't show you that on the screen because we've already seen how to do that in this video, and I've shown how to do that in many other videos. But just follow the process that is available for your DNS host provider for your domain and add this CNAME value. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and come back here. Okay, I have added my CNAME value for this new additional domain that I have. So we'll just need to wait for the validation to... Okay, so now my 3rd domain right here, blog.mukesh.me, is now covered with this single certificate. Now, how do we make this certificate the active one up here? So what we will have to do is now next is disable the custom domains feature. This is what will take the existing websites offline. So as soon as I do this, see, it says disabling your custom domains removes your domains from your distribution. So that is essentially going to take your existing websites offline. So if you come back here if I go to one of my existing websites that we already configured, if I hit refresh, well, it should go offline at any second. And there we go. So now the website is offline while the custom domains are being disabled. So we have to wait for the status to be enabled to go to the next step. Okay, so our distribution status is now showing enabled. That did take about 5 to 10 minutes, just so you know. Our custom domains are disabled and our existing websites are down. So the next step is to delete the old certificates. So you would come here and this delete option should be available to you now. So go ahead and delete those. And now we have this new certificate, multi-site cert-1, and which has our 3rd website. And so now we want that certificate to be associated to this CDN. So now we'll hit custom domains are disabled. We'll hit the toggle to enable that. And again, the same thing, the status will show in progress. So maybe take another 5 to 10 minutes to provision this new certificate and attach it to the distribution. And so we'll wait for this option to show enabled. All right, our distribution status is now showing enabled. That again took 5 to 10 minutes. If you come back to our existing websites, you'll see that the sites are back online, and we can go back to our trial image, and we do see that it's working through CloudFront. So all of our existing sites are working, and your new site for your certificate, blog.mukesh.me, should also be working. I can't really show you that because I didn't set up that third website on the instance, but I wanted to walk you through this process. So adding new domains does take about 15 to 30 minutes, and it isn't straightforward. And keep in mind that your existing websites do go down for some time during this process. But certainly this is the method that I found on how to use a single CDN instance for multiple websites that you're hosting on a single instance. Hopefully AWS changes how this works and lets us add additional domains easily in the future using this interface. But this is what I found. If any of you already knew this technique and are using it, please comment down below on how you are setting that up or how you are using it. Maybe others will find that useful, or if you have an improvement to the process that I just showed, please comment that as well down below for others to take advantage. I think that's it for the video. If you found this tutorial useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and subscribe to the notifications. I am doing another video around basic commands using the VI editor, as I've seen a lot of questions around that. So if you are interested in that video coming up, just don't forget to subscribe and sign up for the notifications. I do have some affiliate links down in the description below that if you find those links useful or those services useful, please consider using those links, and that will help out the channel. And I guess until the next video, take care.